Everyone is talking about City Manager Kyle Hayes appointing Major Jimmy Singletary to head the Beaumont Police Department. If you do see sand on those overpasses and on those surfaces, he says please drive carefully and don't brake suddenly. This jury impaneling room is the first place potential jurors go to await being selected. It's also the only room in the courthouse that can hold the hundreds of DWI offenders judges see every week. Bill White has actually conceded, meaning that Governor Perry is going to take office yet again for his third term. What does that mean for your party? Benzyl piperazine, also known as BZP, is a Schedule I penalty 2 drug, meaning it's in the same category as methamphetamine and ecstasy. It was found in a sample of these bath salts. Lawrence Russell Brewer was 31 years old when he took part in the murder of James Byrd Jr. Brewer is now 44. His life for the past 13 years spent primarily in a small cell on death row. He answered all of our questions about the crime, about his ties to what investigators call a white supremacy group, his thoughts about execution. We also spoke with former Jasper County Sheriff Billy Rolls to help put some of Brewer's answers in perspective. Answers the former sheriff told us are not supported by the evidence.
No, I don't regret going there.
Huff Creek Road.
I'd go again to Jasper.
On the outskirts of Jasper, Texas, a winding, tree-lined road, peaceful. An image that was shattered by a crime so graphic, it became known across the country and the world.
That's all I could see whenever I looked out the sliding glass window in the truck was Sean bending over at a pair of ankles.
Many call it a modern-day lynching with a chain instead of a rope. The dragging death of James Byrd Jr., June 7th, 1998.
I know in my heart, I participated in assaulting him. I had nothing to do with the killing as far as the dragging or driving the truck or anything.
The words of Lawrence Russell Brewer, 13 years later, offering his version of the events. The first time he's given an interview from prison, the Polensky unit in Livingston, death row, surrounded by razor wire, guard towers, Brewer's home beginning in September of 1999.
Literally seen Sean Berry use a knife to cut Bird's throat.
Brewer has stuck to that story since his capital murder conviction.
There was absolutely no throat cut. Wasn't even scratches on the throat where a knife had done it.
Billy Rolls was the Jasper County Sheriff when Byrd was dragged to his death. He investigated every detail of the case, working hand in hand with Guy James Gray, the district attorney at the time.
He has communicated to Guy James and I that Byrd was already dead when they put the chain on him, and that just didn't happen. I mean, there's absolutely no evidence of that at all.
24.5 feet.
What the evidence showed is that Byrd was alive when he was tied to a chain and dragged behind a pickup truck down Huff Creek Road. It was an agonizing death. Byrd struggled to hold himself up by his elbows. The ground chipped away at his bones. His body swung from side to side until it struck a culvert and came apart.
It began here and ended 2.5 miles down this road. It brings back memories for the sheriff, memories he wants to put to rest.
A lot of bad memories out here. I still remember walking from the body was right there in the middle of the road right there. It's sickening.
As far as any regrets, no, I have no regrets. No, I would do it all over again, to tell you the truth.
And what would Brewer say to the Byrd family?
Absolutely nothing. Only one possibly would be I would have liked to have spoke with the mom and the father, tell them face to face exactly what happened, in private instead of in front of through the media or through the courts.
Going through all those trials and still absolutely zero remorse. I mean, that's just so far over my head, I can't comprehend it.
Confederate flag and like a cross burning and the intertwined KKK.
Rolls and others close to the case say to understand more about Brewer, more about what led to the crime, you can look at the tattoos that cover his body. They tell a story of hate.
I wouldn't consider it a white supremacist. I would say more or less a separatist.
Brewer joined the Confederate Knights of America when he was in prison, years before he ended up in Jasper. He says the group molded him, molded his views about blacks and other minorities.
I personally come out of prison after being there for 4 years on Beat 01 and watching the blacks and the Mexicans, other races, literally beat people near death. So I come out after 4 years of that, and you know, with that mentality, you know, like every black and Mexican I seen was like, you know, hatred toward them. So I just wanted to be, you know, around white people.
Beliefs branded on his body, showing his loyalty to the Confederate Knights.
You know, if you're a member, then you got to identify yourself. Everyone would recognize you.
Now, Lawrence Russell Brewer will be forever linked to the murder of James Byrd Jr.
Still pray for the people here in Jasper, because I'm telling you, we still carrying these scars. They're not gone. It's a shame that everybody can't accept life that way. To treat all people with respect and dignity, and that would be my prayer.
A prayer the former sheriff says is unanswered because of the events that took place on this logging road 13 years ago. Alvin, Rusk, Austin, Houston. Officers came from across Texas to pay their respects to one of their own.
We don't know each other, but there's nothing we wouldn't do to help each other out. Yeah. We drove 5 hours, 6 hours to get here. I'd drive a day to get here.
One by one, officers from across the state walked into the Beaumont Civic Center and took their seats. They stood out in their different uniforms, but no matter the color or design, they all had something in common. They felt the same pain, the pain they always feel when they look at the casket of a man or woman in uniform who died in the line of duty.
I've been on the honor guard now for about 11 years, and I've attended way too many of these functions, these funerals, and it never changes.
Patrol car lights led the way into Oak Bluff Cemetery, creating a special bond that links all of these men and women.
About the best way to sum it up, it's an honor. It hits us all in the heart. It's really hard. I didn't know him, but he's a brother.
It's like a community. It's a family. We, honor ourselves as a family, community, and when we lose someone, it's part of our family.
A family, not only to other officers, but to the family of Brian Hebert, trying to overcome the agonizing loss.
It's something to remember. It's a beautiful thing. This funeral, seeing everybody get together and pull together for this, for the family.
Together to say goodbye. In Jefferson County, Lindsay Kovacevic, KFDM 6 News.
Is the system tough enough? Are victims and their families getting the justice they deserve? Is the crime looked at as just a DWI? We'll let you decide. Tonight you will hear from an offender's family and from a victim. You'll learn how drinking and driving has impacted the lives of both in similar ways.
The wind softly blows on a spring morning, the twinkling of chimes ringing in the air. The soft breeze brushes its hand through the flowers.
Her love was for cheerleading.
And a doting mother talks about her 19-year-old daughter while she visits her gravesite.
She liked to make people laugh.
A laugh Kathy Hernandez can only hear in her memories. 4 years ago, her daughter Casey died in a drunk driving accident.
It's that one phone call that every parent dreads. You're not supposed to bury your children.
Kathy Hernandez buried Casey. She describes her daughter as an outstanding student, a child who always followed the rules. Rules didn't help Casey April 29, 2007. She was the one who was drinking and driving.
I think more people should step up. Like you said, I'm the only one that I know of that's out there saying, yes, my daughter, she, was drinking and she was driving. And I can't change that, and it breaks my heart to have to tell people that, but trying to make something good, you know, so maybe she didn't just die for nothing.
Because of drinking and driving, Casey's family now must visit her at her gravesite. But the accident also forever changed the life of a young man.
It was, say, 1:20 in the morning when the actual wreck happened. I just basically woke up in a nightmare.
A nightmare Danny Simeon is living each and every day.
I broke 6 left ribs, tore my main veins in my heart, my aorta, broke both thigh bones, shattered both knees, shattered both ankles, and now I have metal in both ankles, I have metal in both knees, metal in both thigh bones, and my iron rod, well, a ladder, however you say, going up and down my spine with like 20 screws in it.
Danny's injuries on that early April morning 4 years ago left him paralyzed from the waist down. He was just a teen then. Now he's a young man.
I tried to end my life a couple of times over this.
A young man who will be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Not because of anything he did, but because he was the victim of a drunk driver.
I didn't accept myself. This wasn't the way I was, and I wasn't born like this.
Danny Simeon and Kathy Hernandez have something in common. Kathy's daughter, Casey, was the drunk driver who hit Danny and forever changed his life.
Don't drink and drive. That's the main thing. Because, I mean, if it's not only your life that's in danger, you know, because if it was, then, you know, I wouldn't have been injured.
Once you've gotten behind that wheel and you're down the road, nobody's going to help you after that. You're on your own, and you will have consequences to face.
Couldn't move my lower body.
Danny wants his life, his injuries, his tragedy to have meaning for others.
Somebody else's decision.
Kathy wasn't there this night, but she almost always is, and that's rare. They know their story together is a powerful one to tell and hope it can save at least one life. Danny knows how one person's mistake is another person's nightmare.
I don't hate the mother, I don't hate Casey, I don't hate, you know. In the beginning, you know, I was mad. I mean, who wouldn't be mad, you know? But as time grew and I had to realize, you know, it's the thing is, I mean, you forgive. But, you know, you don't have to forget.
Forgiveness for a mother who lives with the constant reminder her daughter isn't coming back. And a 22-year-old man with hopes and dreams who will now spend the rest of his life like this.